Discover the incredible bond, how baby puppy Ginger transformed a shy kitten's life in 30 days. Tom sat silent at the dinner table, a weight on his chest that felt heavier than the transformed economy, or the heavy meal, meatloaf, and mashed potatoes before him. At 38, he was the provider, the protector. And now, being without a job made him feel like a shadow of the man he once was. His wife, Sarah, tried to smile, but the glimmer in her eyes was long gone. Their 2 children, Emily and Jake, squirmed in their chairs, their innocent chatter muted by the heavy silence. "Look, I think we need something to lighten the mood," Sarah said, breaking the tension like a fragile glass. "What do you think about adopting a puppy?" And that's how Ginger, a bouncy little ball of fur with floppy ears and an insatiable curiosity, entered their lives. The moment she stepped into the home, chaos mutated into laughter. Tom couldn't help but chuckle as Ginger zoomed around the living room, tail wagging like a flag, waving in celebration. Yet, somewhere hidden in the nooks and crannies, their quiet, timid kitten Whiskers remained aloof, her emerald eyes peeking out from behind the couch. The contrast between the 2 pets painted a vivid picture of their home's emotional landscape. Days turned into weeks, with Ginger's enthusiasm juxtaposed against Whiskers' retreat into solitude. Ginger barked and pranced, while Whiskers curled up on a cold windowsill, her anxiety echoing the family's unspoken worries. Tom and Sarah were worn thin, their struggles spilling over into every corner of their lives, causing tension to ricochet through their household. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. In the midst of their chaos, something remarkable began happening. Ginger's bubbly spirit ignited a flicker of bravery in Whiskers. She would cautiously take small steps out from her hiding place, lured by Ginger's playful antics. There was joy in every inch Whiskers advanced, yet the family faced another wave of misfortune. Sarah's car broke down without warning, and bills piled on the kitchen table like a mountain of despair. And then it happened. Whiskers, overwhelmed by the tumult, fled into the night, leaving Tom and Sarah gasping in panic. The home they once knew now felt like a battleground of grief. Tom's heart raced as he felt the crushing weight of yet another loss. As they searched frantically, something incredible occurred, a community ignited by Ginger's determination. Neighbors came together, uniting in a mission that sparked empathy and love, illuminating paths that had seemed so dark just moments before. But as they hunted through familiar streets, anxiety bubbled within. Where was Whiskers? Would they find her? Would their home ever feel safe again? The tension thickened, with each unanswered question dangling in the air like a severe storm waiting to break. All they had left was hope dancing on the edge of despair. The moon hung low, casting a silvery glow over the streets as Tom and Sarah retraced their steps. Breath hitching between the cries of searchers and the soft rustle of leaves in the night breeze. Each house they passed echoed with memories, the laughter of their children, Ginger's delighted barks, and Whiskers' soft purrs all seemingly swallowed by the night. Where could she be? Sarah murmured, her voice trembling with worry. She clutched her phone tightly, glancing at the screen as if it would somehow provide them with the answer. I don't know, Tom replied, his heart hammering in his chest. But we will find her. As they walked, they could see their neighbors peering from their doorways, concern etched on their faces, fear mirrored in their eyes. It was a comfort yet a bitter reminder of their collective predicament. Good friends with kind smiles who also carried their own burdens in silence. The weight of that moment settled heavily, a reminder of just how connected they all were. Suddenly, they heard a rustling sound. Their hearts soared, and both turned towards the sound, hope igniting in their chests. Could it be Whiskers? Sarah called, breathlessly, inching closer to the bushes where the sound originated. Ginger, sensing the urgency, rushed ahead, tail wagging like it was trying to fuel a fire. But just as quickly as the hope surged, it faltered. Charlie, the neighborhood teenager, stepped out with a distressed look on his face. I didn't see her. I'm sorry. His voice trembled, filled with teenage worries of not helping enough. Despair washed over Sarah like a cold wave, but before she could wallow in her emotions, a tiny bark cut through the air. Suddenly, replaced with the sound of emerging paws pattering on the pavement. Her breath caught in her throat as Ginger took off, racing toward a flickering shadow at the end of the street. Ginger, wait! Tom shouted, but hope surged ahead of reason as he and Sarah sprinted after the puppy. As the trio rounded the corner, they stumbled upon a small, secluded garden tucked away behind a wooden fence. There, barely visible in the moonlight, was Whiskers. She sat crouched beneath a patch of blooming wildflowers, her back arched in apparent fright, eyes wide and terrified. Whiskers. Sarah cried, but the kitten flinched, a mere ghost of her former self. Tom dropped to his knees, arms outstretched, coaxing her with gentle whispers. Come here, little one. It's okay. You're safe now. Ginger danced around Whiskers, barking and nudging her playfully, trying to bridge the distance filled with fear. It was an endearing sight, Ginger's unyielding spirit shining brightly against the backdrop of Whiskers' shyness. Tom felt his heart squeezing tightly, emotions swirling fear, love, hope catching like wildfires in a dry field. With an unsure step, Whiskers moved, inching closer to Ginger. The sight was so sweet, it brought tears to Sarah's eyes. But just as Whiskers was about to leap into Ginger's embrace, a sudden loud noise shattered the moment, a car screeching, the world spinning back into chaos. Tom's instincts kicked in. Get down, he shouted, pulling Sarah and Ginger aside just as Whiskers bolted in the opposite direction. The fleeting moment of joy twisted into gut-wrenching panic. Would they ever reunite? Would they face another loss? Fear overwhelmed Tom, but he could feel Ginger's puppy energy pushing him forward, igniting a spark of determination. Stay together, he instructed Sarah, the words fighting against the whirlwind in his chest. We'll find her. I promise. With urgency filling the air and the clock ticking, they took off. Every step feeling heavier as the city lights blurred into the distance. Would love prevail? Would the family heal? A chilling thought lingered. Could they save Whiskers in time? And at the heart of it all was Ginger, leading the way, her little paws thumping against the ground with hope. They raced down the dimly lit street, heartbeats pounding like war drums. Each echo of Ginger's paws felt like a lifeline. Tom's mind whirred with a whirlwind of thoughts, the urgency pressing on his chest like a weight. This way. He shouted as he saw Ginger dart toward a narrow alley between two aged brick buildings. Ginger, wait! Sarah gasped, her voice strained yet unwavering. She struggled to keep pace, adrenaline fueling her movement despite her heavy heart. The fear of losing Whiskers lapped at her resolve like an unending tide. They hurtled into the alley, its walls enclosing them in a tapestry of shadows. Blood pulsed in Tom's ears as he tried to scan for any sight of their little kitten. Every nook and cranny seemed to hide the answer they desperately sought. Suddenly, a familiar whimper caught his attention. Ginger had stopped, her little body tense, sniffing the air, ears perked. "What do you see, girl?" Tom knelt beside her, sensing a flicker of hope return. Sarah joined them, her breath uneven. "Do you think she's nearby?" Ginger's tail wagged hesitantly, a mix of instinct and hope, and Tom felt a rush of encouragement. "Let's trust her," he said, strength taking root within him. They followed Ginger's lead. The air felt thick with anticipation as they made their way deeper into the alley. The moonlight flickered on puddles, illuminating their path in a dance of dark and light. Would they find Whiskers in the silence of the night? The thought knitted itself into Tom's mind, every step echoing the fond memories of her playful antics and soft purrs. As they turned a corner, Tom's heart leapt. There, nestled beneath discarded crates, was a small ball of fur peeking out, eyes wide with fear. "Whiskers!" he exclaimed, relief washing over him like a cool breeze. But then he noticed she hovered close to the ground, trembling. "Stay back," he whispered, reaching out slowly. Whiskers' eyes locked onto his, fear flickering within them. Just like that, old memories of her running from loud noises and sudden movements flooded back. "It's okay, sweet girl. You're safe now." But Whiskers remained frozen, a statue of pure anxiety. Ginger stepped forward, her tiny body gentle and wagging, exuding warmth. The puppy approached with a cautious playfulness, closing the gap between them. "Come on, sweetie," Sarah said sweetly, her voice coaxing even the most frightened heart. "Ginger wants to play. She's not going to hurt you." Slowly, Ginger nudged Whiskers with her nose, a silent promise of safety. Tom held his breath, hope igniting once more. Would this bridge the gap between them? Moments passed that felt like hours. Then, as if drawn by an invisible thread, Whiskers took a tentative step forward. Tom could hardly breathe, eyes locked on the transformative bond blossoming before him. With a sudden surprising leap darted for her small body slamming into Ginger's. The two tumbled together in a flurry of fur, surprise giving way to a delightful playfulness that filled the alleyway with life for the first time that night. Tom and Sarah burst into laughter, relief flooding through their bodies. "Look at them. They really are friends." Sarah beamed, emotion coursing through her as she grabbed Tom's arm, squeezing it tight. But just as joy was about to envelop them completely, a low growl echoed from the end of the alley. They turned, hearts sinking, instincts flaring. A large figure lurked, casting an ominous shadow over the playful duo. "What now?" Tom whispered, instincts flaring back to life. As the growl reverberated in the dark, the atmosphere shifted, a new threat sharpening the air. Would they protect their little family from whatever was lurking in the shadows? With hearts racing, he knew the stakes were higher than ever. They had fought so hard to reunite, What if their trials were just beginning? The figure at the end of the alley stepped into the moonlight, revealing a large dog. It's for a mix of matted gray and mud-streaked brown. It stood tall and imposing, muscles rippling underneath its coat, eyes glinting with a fierce determination. Fear washed over Tom again, but he forced himself to take a step forward, shielding Ginger and Whiskers behind him. "Stay back," he shouted, his voice steady though quivering inside. "We don't want any trouble." The imposing dog growled again, its snarl resonating through the narrow passage. Sarah tightened her grip on Tom's arm, and he could feel her trembling. What if it attacks? She whispered, desperation creeping into her voice. They had barely tasted joy, and now fear threatened to snatch it away once more. Ginger whimpered, but Whiskers instinctively pressed close to her. A tiny ball of defiance nestled against the puppy's warm fur. Tom glanced back. Their little team was ready to face the unknown together. "We won't let anything happen to you," he reassured them, even as anxiety twisted in his stomach. The growl turned into a bark, deep and echoing, causing the shadows to shudder. Tom's heart raced as the large dog advanced, its eyes locked onto Whiskers and Ginger with a predatory focus. "No, we just got them back," he thought in a panic. Then a thought hit him, sharp and bright. "Ginger, show her you mean no harm." He knelt but kept his eye on the looming threat, signaling Ginger to do what she did best. The little puppy perked up, her tail wagging furiously, hope rekindling in her eyes. With a brave little leap, Ginger dashed forward, bounding toward the large dog. "What are you doing?" Tom shouted, but he felt a strange mix of trust and fear. Would Ginger's playful nature win over fear? The massive dog paused, confusion flickering across its face as it watched Ginger. The puppy rolled onto her back, tail wagging in invitation, inviting play instead of conflict. Tom held his breath as he realized he couldn't intervene now. It was up to Ginger. For a tense moment, silence reigned, thick and suffocating. Then, as if to validate their innocent intentions, the large dog hesitated, its aggressive bark fading to a puzzled huff. Slowly, it lowered its head, softness creeping into its demeanor. "Come on, girl," Sarah urged, stepping beside Tom, voice steadying. "You can do it, Ginger." Ginger approached cautiously, still wagging her tail, until she was just a few inches away from the colossal beast. Whiskers, brimming with confusion, stayed close to Ginger, watching the unfolding scene. The dog's head tilted, and as it took a step forward, it seemed almost curious. Without further warning, it let out a low whimper, the rumble of dominance shifting into something gentle. Ginger took another step, rubbing against the large dog's leg. Her warm energy inviting, breaking down barriers forged by fear. Seconds felt like hours. The world hung in the balance. Then, something incredible happened. The large dog nudged Ginger back with its nose gently before licking her head, and the tension in the air began to dissolve. Cheers of joy erupted from Tom and Sarah. "Look, they're okay," Sarah exclaimed, tears glimmering in the moonlight. But even as the moment blossomed into unexpected friendship, Tom's heart raced still. What if that bond proved fragile? Just then, a sudden rustle came from behind them, jolting Tom from his thoughts, breaking the revelry. What could it be now? With the shadows deepening, he turned, heart pounding, dread creeping back in. Was the night truly safe, or was another challenge looming just around the corner? The rustle came closer, snapping Tom back to reality as he swung around. The large dog, now relaxed and wagging its tail, seemed to sense the shift in the air. It stood still, ears perked, ready to defend its newfound friends. What was that? Sarah asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The moonlight cast eerie shadows as they waited, hearts racing together in a fragile rhythm. Ginger perked up, her small body trembling with excitement rather than fear. Whiskers cautiously stepped forward, drawn by curiosity. Tom felt an unexpected wave of courage wash over him. Maybe it's nothing, or maybe we can face it together. He stepped out from the protective stance he had taken, positioning himself in front of Sarah and the pets. "Stick together," he whispered, voice low but steady. Then the rustling noise intensified, and from the darkness stepped a small, scruffy creature, a raccoon. It paused, its eyes shining with mischief, staring right at them. The night had shifted from danger to sheer absurdity. Seriously, Tom said, letting out a breath he didn't realize he was holding. Laughter bubbled to the surface. A raccoon. Sarah joined in, her worries easing. Just our luck. The raccoon studied them for a moment before darting forward, intrigued. It zipped past the large dog, who turned its head, cocking it in confusion. Ginger, always the playful spirit, ran after it, barking cheerfully. She seemed to believe every creature was simply another friend waiting to be discovered. Watching his puppy chase the raccoon, Tom felt warmth enveloping him. They had all come so far, time spent in fear, now replaced with laughter and light. The large dog, relaxed now, joined in the playful chase, bounding after the raccoon and barking in delight. Whiskers hesitated, eyeing the chaos, but eventually he too broke into a tentative run. Shadows of worry lifted, if only for a moment. Tom and Sarah exchanged glances, a silent understanding passing between them. In that moment they were not just survivors battling the unknown, but a family flawed, imperfect, and utterly alive. The night suddenly felt like an adventure rather than a threat. But as the laughter began to fade, a shadow flickered at the corner of Tom's eye. He turned to see a figure just beyond the alley, watching them, all deep-set eyes and half-buried face. The laughter caught in his throat. "Do you see that?" Tom whispered, the excitement draining from his face as he pointed toward the figure. Sarah squinted, searching the darkness. The playful moments faded, replaced by a mounting tension in the air. "Who is that?" His heart thudded in his chest, tangled with a sense of impending dread. The figure stepped closer, emerging from the shadows. "Tom," she called, her voice a mix of panic and urgency. "Tom, we need to go. Now." As the figure approached, Tom's heart raced. There was something familiar about her presence, a past rushing back with memories he had long buried. Was this a reunion he had never expected, or a prelude to yet another danger? The air thick with confusion and fear, Tom's instincts kicked in. What was it she wanted? What threat loomed ahead? The night stretched ahead, both daunting and thrilling, leaving Tom trapped between the familiar and unknown. What lay beyond the shadows? "Who are you?" Tom managed to say, though his voice was barely more than a whisper. The figure stepped forward, revealing sharp features and wild, tangled hair. It was a woman, eyes wide and brimming with urgency. "Tom, it's me, Lily. We don't have much time." At the sound of her name, A flicker of recognition sparked within him. Memories washed over his mind like a tide-shared laughter on sunny days, late-night secrets, promises made beneath starry skies. Lily, his voice cracked. What happened to you? Not now. She urged, glancing around as though shadows were creeping closer. You don't understand. They're looking for you, for all of us. We need to leave. It's not safe. Behind them, the raccoon scurried away, the large dog's barks echoing in confusion. Sarah's frozen. Lily's frantic. What do you mean? Who's looking for us? Lily's breath came in ragged gasps. It's the same people who caused all that chaos last year. They're back, and they're more dangerous than before. I followed their trail to find you. Tom's heart raced. The thought of those dark days, of running and hiding, felt all too close. But what do they want? They want control. They want to finish what they started. And they know you were part of it. The weight of her words pressed down on Tom's chest. I thought we'd left that behind. I thought we were safe. We might be, but not if we stay here. You still have time, but we need to move now. Tom looked back at Sarah, who stood with wide eyes, grappling with fear. He could feel the tension ripple between them. This was a moment that could pivot everything. Fear could either send them running or unite them in strength. I can't just leave, Tom said, taking a deep breath. This is our home now. We've fought too hard to just run away again. Lily's expression softened for a moment, understanding flickering through her panic. I get it, Tom, but sometimes running is the bravest choice. They won't stop until they have what they want. He looked at Sarah, her brows furrowed with thought. What do you think? Should we listen to her? Sarah hesitated. We could plan, try to confront this threat together, but what if running is the smartest option? Whiskers had found a spot near Ginger, who returned from her recon mission, playfully tugging at the raccoon's tail like it was a game. Their innocence seemed to challenge the somber situation. I'll protect you, the large dog suddenly spoke, bringing them back to the moment. Tom felt something shift inside. The weight of fear, the heaviness of the past, couldn't steal their joy or their bond. But the unknown danger loomed, and making a decision now was crucial. How do we know they're really coming? Tom demanded of Lily, searching her eyes for some sign of reassurance. Because I saw them, I barely escaped. This isn't just paranoia. Silence descended, thick and heavy. Tom's heart pounded. Was this the moment they would choose fight or flight? Okay, he said finally, his voice steady. We'll move. But we do it together, as a family. Lily nodded, determination washing away her fear. Together, then, but we need to act fast. As they changed direction, moving toward the alley's exit, Tom felt a melting pot of emotions surge within him: fear, determination, and the spark of unity. The night stretched out before them, an uncertainty cloaked in shadows, but also a chance for renewed strength. Stay close, Tom instructed as they pressed on into the darkness. But just as they turned the corner, a piercing whistle sliced through the air, filled with urgency, filled with dread. What was that? Sarah gasped, adrenaline flooding her system. Tom froze, a deep chill sliding down his spine. I don't know. But whatever it is, it's not far behind. As Lily glanced back, a cold gust of wind swept through, carrying the distant echo of their pursuers. A relentless sense of danger sparked in the night. tightening the knot in Tom's stomach. What awaited them as they raced into the unknown? Would they outrun the shadows, or would the past finally catch up with them? The whistle echoed ominously in the still air, sending shivers down Tom's spine. He felt the urgency brewing like a storm within him. "Move," he shouted, urging the others forward. He could sense the darkness creeping closer, its cold fingers brushing against their backs. They sprinted down the alley, their footsteps pounding against the pavement like war drums. The distant sound of that chilling whistle lingered, and with it, the threat of an unseen enemy. Lily led the way, her hair whipping behind her as she turned sharp corners, her eyes darting across the shadows. "We need a place to hide," she exclaimed, panting with each hurried step. "There's an old storage building a couple of blocks from here. It might work." Tom's mind raced. Could they trust this plan? But what choice did they have? The city was starting to feel like a maze, its familiar streets, now twisted and dangerous. "Follow her," he urged Sarah, hoping his voice sounded steadier than he felt. They rushed after Lily, hearts racing, breaths quickening. As they turned onto the next street, the world around them felt more alive. A clash of shadows from the streetlights flickered, and the wind howled with a haunting melody. Whiskers and Ginger trotted closely, sensing the mood, their playful antics fading into a cautious awareness. "Do you think they'll really come after us?" Sarah asked, her voice trembling. In the thick of their new reality, she clung to hope, even as fear loomed like a specter. "They could," Tom replied, glancing at Lily. "But we can't let that stop us. We're stronger together." Lily nodded, bolstered by Tom's words. "Right. Just keep moving." "We're almost there," she urged. They turned another corner, and the storage building came into view, a large gray structure that looked abandoned yet familiar. Tom remembered the place, an old haunt from better days. The memories wrapped around him like a warm hug, but now the space felt tainted by anxiety. "Get inside," Lily shouted as they reached the heavy door, its surface rough and weathered. Tom pulled it open, the creaking sound adding to the impending dread that gnawed at them. Once inside, they were met with darkness, swallowing their small group whole. The musty air clung to them, and the only sound was the echo of their panting breaths. "Is it safe?" Sarah whispered, her eyes wide with uncertainty. "For now, I think so," Tom replied, stepping cautiously further in. The beams of moonlight filtered through the cracks in the walls, revealing dusty crates and broken equipment, remnants of forgotten promises. Lily took a moment to catch her breath, her wild eyes scanning every corner. "We should barricade the door," she said urgently. They worked quickly, moving old boxes and rusted machinery in front of the entrance. The task momentarily distracted Tom from the impending danger outside, but when he paused, the weight of their reality came crashing back. "What if they find us here?" Sarah's voice quivered, and Tom could see the doubt creeping into her heart, just as it had invaded his. "We'll figure it out," he said with a confidence that felt shaky. "We always do." Moments felt like hours as they waited in the cold silence, each second stitching their fears tighter. The air felt thick, and the shadows of the past crowded around them like unwanted guests. Then they heard it, a faint rustle beyond the door, growing ever closer. Tom's heart sank. What if it was them? What if this was it? "We need to get out of here," Lily whispered, her eyes wide with fear. Tom glanced at Sarah and then back at Lily, his mind racing. "But how? We don't even know where to go." A flash of determination crossed Lily's face, rekindling the fires of hope inside him. Maybe we can climb to the roof. The idea sparked a flicker of courage in Tom's heart. They could rise above it all, outsmart their pursuers if only they worked together. "Let's do it," Tom stated. "We stick together whatever happens." And just as they made their way toward a staircase in the back, the door rattled ominously. A deep voice echoed outside. "You can't hide forever." Adrenaline surged through Tom, and panic set in. Would their unity be enough to face what lay beyond? With every step, the shadows dared them to confront the unknown. What awaited them on that roof? And would they find their way to safety or fall deeper into danger? Tom could feel every heartbeat thumping in his ears as they fled towards the staircase. It seemed an eternity since they had first come into this building. The fear pressing down on them felt tangible, thick like fog. He led the way, glancing back to make sure Sarah and Lily were keeping up. "Quick, before they get in," he urged, hoping urgency would dampen the dread. His grip tightened on the metal railing as he clambered up the stairs, each creak echoing like a scream in the tense silence. He reached the landing and looked back to reassure Sarah. "Just a little further," he said, forcing a smile. But deep down, he wasn't so sure. They emerged onto the roof, the cool night air rushing around them like an embrace. The city sprawled out beneath them, full of possibilities but also threats. Lily stepped past him and surveyed the area. "Where do we go?" she asked, her voice steadier than he expected. "Can we see anyone?" Sarah added, peering over the ledge. The streets below seemed empty, but shadows danced in the alleys, hinting at danger lurking. Tom looked to Lily, searching her face for guidance. "What if they follow us up?" he whispered, anxiety twisting in his stomach. "They might, but we can hide. There are vents and—" She started, then pointed. "See? There's a ledge over there. We might be able to use it to get to the next building." His eyes followed her finger. The ledge didn't look inviting. It jutted out into dark space, and one misstep could send them plummeting. Still, it felt like their best chance. "Okay, let's try it," Tom said, feeling a mix of terror and cautious bravery. "We need to move now." They moved together to the edge of the roof, adrenaline keeping their fears at bay. Tom reached out, helping Sarah across first. She took a deep breath, he could see it in her wide eyes, and then stepped carefully onto the ledge. "Come on, you can do it," Tom said, trying to lift her spirits. One by one, they picked their way along the narrow surface, balancing their weight carefully as the wind whipped around them. It was scary. Every instinct screamed at them to turn back, but they pressed on. Once they crossed to the other side, they quickly ducked into a small alcove that hugged the wall. Catching their breath, they listened intently, every rustle from below making their skin crawl. "Do you think they saw us?" Sarah whispered, her hands trembling slightly. "It's hard to say," Lily said, her eyes scanning the street below as if summoning an answer from the shadows. "But if they did, they wouldn't be far behind." The uncertainty was suffocating. Tom felt the familiar urge to act, to protect them, kick in. "Let's wait, see what happens," he said, forcing calmness into his voice, even as a storm raged inside him. Suddenly, they heard footsteps echoing off the concrete below. The three of them exchanged nervous glances, hearts pounding. It was too late to retreat. The shadows were closing in. Stay quiet, he hissed, crouching down low. They all huddled together, breaths shallow and silent. Tom's heart raced as the figures entered their line of sight. Two dark shapes. Searching the area, he could see their faces now, twisted with determination. Fear gripped him, cold and bitter. "What do we do?" Sarah whispered, her voice almost inaudible. He looked at Lily, then back at Sarah. The stakes had never felt higher. He knew they had to act. "We need to be ready." But just as Tom prepared to strategize their next move, a sudden noise caught their attention. An engine revving just around the block. It roared to life, drowning out everything else. "Is that them?" Lily gasped. "Are they bringing a car?" He locked eyes with her, their breaths synchronized in a shared panic. Time had become fluid, stretching and pulling, every moment heavy with dread. Then the dark shapes turned, distracted by the noise, and took off in the direction of the sound. "What now?" Sarah breathed, still on edge. Tom felt the weight of the decision bear down on him. They could either stay hidden and wait, or risk everything to find a safer spot. But what if they didn't get another chance? "Let's go while we can," he said, steeling himself. "We can't stay here. We need to find out what's happening." And as they crept toward the edge of their sanctuary, the sound of the revving engine was suddenly mixed with the distant echo of the chilling whistle, promising that time was rapidly running out. The rooftop felt like a tenuous lifeline, and the moment Tom made his decision, adrenaline surged through him. He glanced back at Sarah and Lily, seeing their fear mirrored in his eyes. "Let's keep moving," he urged, and with that, they slipped into the shadows of the alcove, where it felt like they might disappear entirely from the world. The noise of the engine faded, but the haunting whistle lingered, curling around them like smoke. As they crept closer to the edge, Tom peered down, scanning the street below. The figures had vanished into the darkness, but that didn't mean they were safe. A sense of urgency filled his chest, and he signaled for the girls to follow. "Stick close," Tom whispered, his voice low but steady. The ledge was behind them now, and the empty expanse before them beckoned. It felt like a leap of faith, every instinct telling him to hesitate. He felt the weight of their lives pressing down on him. They approached a stairwell leading down, barely illuminated by a flickering light. Each step felt risky, the metal groaning softly underfoot. Tom's heart raced. This wasn't just a physical pursuit anymore. It was a test of their courage. "Do you hear that?" Sarah whispered, fear lacing her words. "Tom nodded." Again, the noiser, revving engine, louder now, and it was mixed with something else. Shouts, angry and urgent. "They're not far," he warned. Lily's hand gripped his, her fingers cold and trembling. He turned to her, a question hanging in the air. "Are you ready?" In that moment he saw the determination in her eyes, a flicker of strength that ignited his own. "Let's go," he urged, moving faster. They rushed down the stairs, each turn taking them deeper into the building's belly. As they reached the ground floor, the echoes of footsteps and muffled voices filled the hallway. They had to keep going. The dim lights flickered above, casting eerie shadows that danced along the walls. It was all disorienting. Even the air felt thick and heavy. But Tom felt a strange comfort in being there together, bound by fear but also the unwavering bond of survival. "Wait," he said suddenly, stopping short. He spotted an open door at the end of the hall, Ajar just enough for them to squeeze inside. That way. Without waiting for a reply, he led them into the dark room. It was cramped, filled with old furniture and forgotten memories. The smell of dust and mustiness hung heavy in the air, but they had no choice. Heartbeats raced as they huddled together, breaths shallow. Through the thin walls, muffled voices grew louder. Tom pressed himself against the door, straining to hear. They went this way. A voice shouted, frustration lacing every word. Tom's heart dropped, the realization hitting him hard. They were closing in. What do we do? Sarah breathed, voice trembling. For a moment, Tom felt lost. They had come so far only to be cornered, but he knew they couldn't give up. We need to think. There must be a way out. We just have to find it. He continued listening, piecing together their next move. The urgency filled the room, a palpable electricity. But then he caught sight of a window, barely visible through the thick darkness, over there. He pointed, eyes wide with tentative hope. Can we fit through? Lily asked, glancing back at him with a mix of fear and determination. We have to try, Tom said, and as he moved towards the window, he felt the strength of their resolve. The night held dangers, but also a thin thread of hope. As Tom climbed up to the window, a weight settled on him. The risky leap into the unknown was just about to begin. Could they truly escape? Or would they be lost in the enormity of the night that seemed to swallow everything whole? The sound of footsteps was closer now. Time was slipping away, and with one last look at the girls, he felt that familiar surge of protectiveness. Ready or not, here we go. He whispered as he pushed the window open, the chill of the breeze rushing in, bringing both fear and the taste of freedom. But even as he took that first step into the dark abyss, a new sound echoed, a deep, menacing roar that made his blood run cold, stopping him in his tracks. What had they just stumbled into? The roar reverberated through Tom's bones, freezing him on the ledge of the window like a statue. He held his breath, all thoughts of escape evaporating. What had they entered? Was this the end of their journey? Tom, Sarah whispered urgently, her voice trembling with fear. What was that? I don't know. He stammered, his heart hammering in his chest, the urge to flee battling against the instinct to protect them. Lily's grip tightened around his arm, and he could feel the tremors in her fingers. We can't stay here. We need to take our chance. Tom looked back at the two girls, their faces illuminated in the faint light, shadowed with panic, but also a glint of determination. He knew they were in this together, and their bond, that incredible unity, burned brightly within him. As the menacing growls echoed through the building's dark corners, he found a flicker of courage. Okay, on the count of 3, he said, surprising even himself with his steadiness. We jump. What? Sarah exclaimed, eyes wide. Are you serious? 3, Tom pressed, his own pulse racing faster than his thoughts. 2. Just then, the growls intensified, the sound rippling through the air with a dangerous weight. He could almost feel the breath of whatever creature lurked beyond the door, cold, frightening, and all-consuming. 1, he shouted, leaping into the dark. They jumped together, plunging into the night. The world fell away, replaced by the rush of cool air swirling around them. Tom landed hard on the grass, rolling with the force. Get on, he hissed, panic fueling them to crawl behind a nearby bush, heart racing as they caught their breath. Did we make it? Are we safe? Sarah gasped, her face pale. The adrenaline coursed through her, and Tom could almost see the light of hope flickering in her eyes. Tom inched forward, peering into the shadows. I think so. He couldn't shake the urgency prickling on his skin. But we can't stay here. We need to keep moving. Lily nodded in agreement, determination returning to her features. Going back inside isn't an option. We'll find another way. As they crept through the unlit streets, whispering plans to each other, the oppressive darkness felt a little lighter. With each step they took, Tom could feel that their struggle was drawing them closer together like bonds forged through fire. The city around them loomed ominously, but now it felt like a world of possibilities rather than just threats. Suddenly, Ginger and Whiskers, sensing danger, broke away and darted ahead, their instincts sharper than ever. No, Ginger. Come back, Sarah cried, scrambling to catch up. Tom's heart raced as he shouted, "Stay close to us." But as they ran, laughter erupted unexpectedly from deep in his chest. Seeing the puppy's playful spirit amidst the chaos ignited a warmth in him, pushing his fears aside. They stumbled into a small park, the trees standing tall like guardians. The branches danced softly in the breeze, giving them a moment of reprieve. As they caught their breath, they turned together, faces flushed with the thrill of survival and newfound strength. And then, silence. The night air wrapped around them, whispering promises of hope and renewal. The neighborhood, their neighborhood, seemed alive and waiting for them. We did it, Tom said, letting the realization wash over him. We made it through. Yes, we did. Sarah grinned, her eyes sparkling brightly. Lily squeezed Tom's arm. And now we have each other, she said softly, her voice a warm comfort in the cool night. The shadows that had once seemed so intimidating now felt like a canvas for their shared journey, their steadfast connection as a family lighting the way forward. With renewed determination, Tom led the way toward the warmth of home, Ginger and Whiskers flanking them. United in a blanket of celebration, they would face whatever came next, together. As the sun began to rise, turning the horizon into hues of gold and pink, dawn broke with the promise of a new beginning. There, worries seemed to melt away, replaced by laughter and the ageless truth that family chosen or otherwise was the strongest bond of all. Their hearts were full, memories lined with resilience and hope lifting them higher than before. They had transformed, all because of the love shared and the bonds built under the stars. But the challenge was not just survival. It was about thriving. And through the winds of adversity had come a beautiful unity that nobody could untangle, a lesson to carry into the future. The ordeal had been a catalyst for change. They would forge ahead, with hearts open and hands clasped, ready to embrace life, laughter, and every moment yet to come. As Tom looked around at the faces of his family, he whispered, "This is it. We're going to be okay." And in that very moment, nothing felt more true. Now, it's your turn to support this incredible journey. You need to subscribe now to our channel. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Leave a like and comment on your feelings about this ending. This is the moment to show your support. Let's inspire each other in this amazing community of stories. Go ahead, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your actions can keep the magic alive.